Hey everyone, Cory Muscara here with Mindfulness.com. Welcome back to your weekly newsletter. In this newsletter, we are going to be talking about 4 steps to build your nervous system. So what do I mean by that, and why would that be important? Well, when we're talking about building our nervous system, we're specifically talking about building our nervous system's capacity to hold more aspects of our life. We could think of this as expanding our window of tolerance, which Dan Siegel talks about. This is essentially your capacity to stay present to an experience that is here without defaulting to shutting down, numbing, or having to turn away in some way. There can be a lot of reasons why we do that in relationship to experience. There's a lot of intensity in life, and sometimes a very understandable defense mechanism is to go numb or to shut down or to step out of the situation. And there are a lot of times where that is necessary. This is not saying that you should have to stay with a high intensity situation in every single moment just for the sake of it because you're trying to be mindful. Knowing when to step out of an experience is equally skillful. However, if we don't have some degree of capacity to hold the flow of our life, including high intense sensational experiences, then life itself is going to be tossing us around and pushing us into reactivity rather than us being able to stay with the experience and then go with the skillful response, actually, I'm going to step out of this, rather than it just pushing us out of the experience. And that's where we get caught up in cycles of reactivity, where we might be in a difficult conversation and we default to patterns of going, I don't want to talk about this right now. And it's mainly because something got triggered and it felt really uncomfortable in the body. And our knee-jerk response, because we didn't want to be with that discomfort, was to just go into a pattern of avoidance. And this can take an infinite number of shapes and permutations. And I'm sure there's a number that you can highlight in your own life where there was an intense level of sensation in the body, emotion, and the reactivity just happened almost automatically and unconsciously. So building our capacity to hold these experiences allows us to respond to them rather than just react to them. And I want to give you 4 steps you can do to build your nervous system's capacity to hold experience. So let's just imagine a scenario where it's not necessarily in the moment of being triggered with a person or something, but you're in your home sort of at the end of the day. Maybe you looked at something online or you're reflecting on an experience that happened with someone and you still feel a lot of activation in your body that's making you uncomfortable. Maybe you want to zone out, go on Instagram, do something to avoid being with it. In that moment, there's a great opportunity to practice being with the felt sense of what is here. And the first step for this would be breathing into the energy that you're noticing in your body. Lots of really good research around how a deep breath helps to settle the nervous system when it feels activated. So even though you probably hear this in every single mindfulness or meditation teaching, like take a deep breath, there's a lot of merit to it. And what I like to do in these moments is feel specifically like, where is this energy in my body? It's like, oh, a lot of tightness in my chest right now. So I breathe into that tightness and imagine dispersing it throughout my body. You can think of that as, taking a 50-pound weight, like a dumbbell that you might hold in your hand. It's going to be very heavy. But if you take that same 50 pounds and you disperse it throughout the body with maybe heavy clothing or a backpack, you're going to be able to hold it a lot more. It's the same thing with that energy in the body and the emotion. When it's localized in a particular place, feels really intense. It causes us to want to react. But when we breathe into it and spread it out, we have more capacity to hold it. And for that reason, we become less reactive to it. So first thing is just breathing into that energy, spreading it throughout. The next thing is going into self-compassion. Now, this is incredibly important because often in these moments, almost always in these moments of high activation, there's going to be some nonverbal sense in our being that we're unsafe right now. which is why we'd want to get out of the situation or change it or flee or numb. It's like, whoa, this is too much to handle. On some level, our primal brain is relating to this experience as potentially life-threatening. So really important to come in with the more resourced part of us that is able to say, hey, you're okay right now. We're safe. We're just taking a deep breath. We're just feeling what's going on in our bodies. We can be with this. There's a roof over our head. We're settled in this moment. You're okay. Now, of course, if you are in a life-threatening situation, you wouldn't be doing something like this. You'd be getting out of that situation. But here, we're assuming that there's just a lot of activation in our body, feels really uncomfortable. We don't want to experience it, but we're training ourselves to hold it. And that's where that self-compassion comes in, just to remind us like, hey, you are safe right now. That goes a very long way for us being able to stay present to the experience and feeling okay staying present to the experience. The next is, and this is the third step to building your nervous system, recognizing your boundaries. Now, this can feel counterintuitive. It's like, okay, aren't we practicing like staying in the experience? And isn't a boundary around saying no to an experience? Yes. And knowing that you can step out of something is what allows you to be more comfortable while you're in it. I like to think of this as, or one metaphor I use is like jumping into a very cold body of water. If you were just dropped into the Atlantic Ocean and it was extremely cold and there was no dock nearby, no land, the nervous system would be completely overwhelmed and there would be a ton of fear. However, if you were dropped into, let's say, like a pool, but you knew, and it was still very cold, right? Same sensational experience, but you knew there was a patio nearby. You could see the steps. You might still really not like the sensation of the experience, but knowing that you can step out of it allows you to feel a little bit more safe while you're in it. And this is the power of boundaries. And this is why an equal part of developing presence in terms of our capacity to hold experience involves developing the capacity to feel like we can step out of experience. Sometimes that is quite literally stepping out of an uncomfortable situation, but a lot of times that just refers to the internal ways of relating to experience where we're not opening up the floodgates and feeling everything that is here. So that could look like, if our eyes are closed and we're feeling a lot in meditation, we might recognize that we can open our eyes. We don't have to stay with this right now. Or we can direct our attention to something else that's more comfortable and grounding, or knowing that we can go for a walk right now. Just something that communicates to us on some level that we can step out of the intensity of the experience. Now, this might not always feel available to us, and it might not be the case that we can stop the experience entirely, but you're just playing with like, oh, when I direct my attention here, it becomes more intense. When I direct my attention here, it becomes less intense. When I go for a walk, it becomes less intense. When I open my eyes, it becomes less intense. Those are all ways of having internal boundaries in relationship to your experience that shows you, okay, I can sort of influence the intensity of what is here. That's a form of a boundary. So knowing you can step out of the experience helps you be more comfortable while you're in it. In relationship to building your nervous system, you're just reminding yourself in this moment, yeah, okay, there's a lot of intensity here. I'm choosing to stay present with it in this moment. But if I wanted to step out of the intensity, I could. And I could go on my phone. I could distract myself. I could call someone up and have a conversation. All of those recognitions help us stay with it a little bit longer. And then the last thing, the fourth step, is just to ask yourself, can I stay with this experience for just one more moment? Can I stay with this for just one more moment? Most of the time, when it comes to experiencing discomfort, the main thing that makes it, that creates so much extra fear and overwhelm isn't the momentary experience of it, but it's the sense that this is going to last a long period of time. It's going to last 10 minutes, an hour, or days or weeks. Now, when we start feeling something uncomfortable and then thinking that it's going to last a long time, of course we're going to feel overwhelmed. I can hardly hold it right now. Like, I don't want to hold it for 10 minutes, an hour, a week. So that's where we get caught up in fear, and then we get very reactive. Get me out of this situation. However, most of us can be with one moment of discomfort. If you were to just ask yourself, okay, can I be with this for one moment? The response might be, yeah, I can. I don't want to, but I can be with it for one moment. And the thing about that is life is only always asking you to just be with one moment of your life. You can't be with 10 minutes and hours worth. That's all happening in the mind. You can only be with what's here now. And by just relaxing into what is here now for just one more moment, that discomfort, you are starting to train your capacity and a reorganization around uncomfortable experience, reorganizing your mind's relationship to uncomfortable experience so that it can hold it rather than quickly defaulting to its normal patterns of reactivity, stepping away, numbing. So these are the 4 steps. Breathe into the energy, practice self-compassion, recognize your boundaries, and ask yourself, can I stay with this for one more moment? If you do this in relationship to discomfort as it's arising, you'll slowly start to expand your window of tolerance and build your nervous system's capacity to hold the fullness of your life. And that, in many ways, becomes a superpower. So thank you for your practice. If you'd like more teachings and tips like this, join us in the mindfulness.com app. We have daily videos, daily meditations, lots of different courses. There's a ton of content there to really continue to both build your nervous system, but also develop the qualities of mind and the heart that really lead to a fulfilling and joyful life. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon, and take care.